Put my headphones on.
You better had.
I better had, hadn't I?
Yes, you better had.
Yes, I better had.
Welcome to Urban Legends. The podcast about urban legends. Meet your host, that's right, Neil Chris Huntley.
Hello and welcome to this week's fun-filled episode of Urban Legends, the podcast exclusively about urban legends or urban legends and urban legend adjacent phenomena such as ghosts, sea monsters,
UFOs.
A bit of UFOs.
Military experiments gone wrong.
Yeah, military experiments. I am... Vortexes. I am the failed Mexican luchador known simply as El Señor Bambino Gigante, Chris Flynn. And with me is a man who's been in the press recently because a statue of him was pulled down from Kettering Town Centre due to his ties with the Confederacy. It's Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Hi, Neil. How's your week been? Kind of been fun, the statue stuff.
Well, some people just...
It's history, not hate.
Heritage. I can't even sort of like pretend to sort of... I mean, this is the Kettering Confederacy, so,
Yeah. The worst one.
Yeah. The worst one. I mean, I'll tell you what, we lasted longer than 4 fucking years.
Yeah, that's true.
Banging on about that. Sure, heritage. What kind of fucking heritage is that?
Well, 4 years of heritage.
4 years.
There's a World Cup either end or an Olympics if you prefer individual sports. So what does or did the Kettering Confederacy stand for?
That's the question.
That is the question. That's the question I'm asking you, Neil.
It's just bunch of lads hang around Wicksteed Park, maybe a bit of drinking.
Yeah. That was the main tenant or one of the main tenants of the
scare out any non-Kettering folks
was to keep Kettering for Kettering folks. Drink warm cider. Was that one?
Yeah, I mean, after a night of possibly too heavy drinking, I think we did try and declare independence for Kettering from the rest of the UK.
Yeah. And the rest of the UK said fine, I believe. And you had a quick climb down from Kettering.
Yeah, it wasn't. It sort of ignored us.
Oh, okay. Well, but you did manage to get a statue of yourself. I say statue. I mean, I've seen it. It's a shop mannequin with your face.
You mean it's a shop mannequin that I've gold leafed with some silver tin foil over to make it look metallic.
Yeah.
It's pretty good likeness though.
I tell you what,
it's one of the when they put up at the Fonz in America.
Oh yeah, or that Ronaldo one.
I'm looking to have it.
Isn't it one of on TripAdvisor one of Kettering's top 5 attractions?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's number 3 is an amphibious vehicle though, and number 2 is a park. So.
What? That's it. Just an amphibious.
Number
vehicle.
1's the local pub.
Ronnie Joe, you're from Kettering, aren't you? So you're allowed to say all this.
I left there. I left there when I was like 7 or 8. So I really don't.
But you'd exhausted the local education system.
It was quite sleepy when I left there. I'm sure.
It's just a town, isn't it? It's just a town.
It's just a town. It's fine.
Don't worry about it.
Just joking because I grew up there, but
yeah.
And
the Confederacy, obviously.
Yeah, obviously that as well.
But
I think I want to talk about your failed digital. So is that Giant Bambino?
It was Mr. Giant
Bambino.
Baby. Yes, that's what they called me, and I was a heel. And I
had humiliating just having your mask torn off in every match.
Yeah, it was mask torn off. I had to wrestle in a nappy.
Yeah. I had to.
Well, I mean, I did have to, but for medical reasons. To not soil the ring.
You were getting weaned by Andre the Giant was particularly distressing, I would say.
Yeah, towards the end of his
unconventional manoeuvres. I know luchadors can do some sort of weird acrobatic stuff.
Towards the end of his career, Andre did kind of float south and start fighting in the Mexican luchador ring, and yes, he did play my mother for a while.
He got well paid for that.
No, he didn't. I'm not sure he got paid at all. I think he just did it for the kudos. Maybe.
Do you think the lactating was a consequence of the weird drugs they made him take when it was a pain and stuff?
To be honest, it was quite sad because most of the time he didn't know where he was.
Yeah. Oh, it's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah. I had 30 bouts and lost every one of them because that was the script. Not that it's scripted, but and not that I was an inadequate luchador, but it was a time of my life. I wouldn't change it for anything.
You gave it a go.
Gave it a go.
You tried it.
I could never
failed massively, obviously, but
I could never go back to Mexico. Because
people throw cartels, it's shoot you on sight, wouldn't they?
People throw bottles at me, like babies' bottles, rusks, rattles, that kind of thing. But hey, man, we're only on this earth once, aren't we? So give these guys a go.
You'd have regretted it if you hadn't.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You regret it more that you did, but
how many people can say they've been breastfed by Andre the Giant?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
hopefully not many.
It's only in the low hundreds.
Yeah.
So, and I'm one of them. I had a massage today, Neil. My fourth massage ever. Yeah, deep tissue, so deep.
How'd that work out for you?
It was good. I liked it. I've booked another one for 1 month's time. What was weird about it is it's probably the most human contact I've had in about 3.5 years. So
you didn't make any inappropriate offers, did you? I hope not.
I did not. Absolutely not. No. I kept my hands to myself, my nose to the grindstone, and my face in the hole, as you do. As you do with a massage. No, it's good. The person who gave me a massage was good, like properly went for it, because sometimes people are either not strong or heavy enough or are worried about damaging your spine. But this person couldn't care less. Brilliant. Got right in there. So
the nooks and crannies.
Yeah. Got some of the knots out, so that was good. So I'm feeling quite relaxed. I don't know if it's coming across in my post chat patter. What's this part of the TV/podcast called? The introduction.
This is the interminable middle. We'll get on to the point.
Right. Okay. Well, Neil, I believe you're driving this one, and it's from the former prison colony of Australia.
Your words, not mine.
It isn't, but it factually is.
I mean, it factually, yeah, okay.
It's not that anymore. It's lovely. I've been to Australia.
No. I have family in Australia, but I've never actually been. I have cousins who live over there.
Is that why?
In Melbourne. No. Going. To be honest with you, it's just the flight. It just fills me with dread. Just staying on a plane for like more than 20 hours.
Well, you normally stop over somewhere.
Yeah, no. To be honest, I will do it one day because I've got family over there. But
what's really weird is, so I went there, and I went to Hong Kong for like a week or whatever, and then flew to Australia from there. And you kind of think incorrectly, possibly because maps are all lies and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a really long flight to Hong Kong, obviously. And then you think, well, Hong Kong, but that's fairly near Australia, so it won't be such a long flight. But it's basically the same length flight from Hong Kong to Australia as it is from England to Hong Kong. Like, it's just out in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's really like 15, 16-hour flights from Hong Kong to Australia or something. It's madness, I tell thee.
Wow. Yeah, I'd want to stop off somewhere a bit nearer. I don't know where nearer would be, but I would. I'd do it and take chances.
You're best to go to like Indonesia or Malaysia, something like that. Singapore, You've been to Singapore, haven't you?
I have been to Singapore, actually. I've been to Singapore and Malaysia.
That's why they had to put that rule in about not urinating in lifts and not chewing gum, wasn't it?
Hey, I was the modern Raffles as far as I was concerned.
Gentleman.
Unconventional, but gets the job done. And the job in question was me
urinating in a lift. Lovely. Lovely stuff.
See the problem and attack it. cut through the nonsense.
Cut through the red tape.
Yeah.
Okay, Neil. So, what is today's urban legend?
So we're off to Australia. We're going to talk about urban legend of the Yowie.
Yowie. But
is it an urban legend? So it is definitely part of Australian folklore, but
that's what we're here to find out.
As we're going to explain, Chris, there's an awful lot of sightings.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's quite empty, isn't it, Australia? It's quite when you're not around the coast.
Huge country, and the amount of people who the population compared to the sort of the size and I believe there's huge parts of it that are sort of very,
the main
very
population tends to be around the coast. The outback is fairly sparsely populated. Well, I say fairly, very sparsely populated.
But and obviously Northern Territories are extremely hot. So because you get people living underground and stuff in the Northern Territories, don't you? In some of the areas where it's just I think during the day it's just too hot to sort of.
Yeah, well, you get that. You've got cave homes in Spain as well, which they're still viable, kind of outside Valencia. So when you go into the interior, there's like cave homes and stuff that people still live in. I quite fancy that. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? Do some cave art. Actually. Yeah, no windows, so don't have to worry about people peeping on me walking around naked, which I do.
Yeah, that's a plus.
Yep, for everyone involved, really.
Yes, absolutely.
From the rocks, take the trousers off, and the cave instantly collapses.
Geological formations are notoriously
prudish.
Yeah, but what are they going to do about it?
That's why the Victorians were so into geology.
Absolutely.
So, Neil.
Yeah. So the Yowie. So it's got several names, and it's kind of like it's referred to as something along the lines of an Australian Bigfoot.
Right.
So it's got its roots in Aboriginal oral history.
Right. So it's old.
So they've been called other things like the quinkin, or a type of quinkin, a jugabinna, and there's various different names that I won't try and read all of them out, but in various different parts of the country they're called different things.
Yeah.
But the Yowie type creature, so it's kind of like a huge kind of like man ape type creature. You can imagine your typical Bigfoot type thing. So it's described as a hairy ape-like creature standing upright between 2 and 3.5 meters, so around 6'11" and 12 foot. Yeah. So they're basketball playing sort of territory. Even
we should get a match sorted between them and the Dark Watchers.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? That'd be better than Space Jam or whatever.
Didn't they remake Space Jam? Or they've done a modern version of it?
Yeah.
I never even saw the original, to be honest. I think it was outside of my childhood or whatever, but I know people regard that as a classic.
No, I don't. It was, I was too old for it. But the soundtrack was all right. Had some good songs on it.
Was that where I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly come from?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that's what I'm thinking of. They had they had some quite good hip-hop songs because it was basketball, so therefore hip-hop, apparently.
Fair days. I was just, I'm not. I only just remember that one. It was a bit like, it was in the charts for quite a while.
Yeah,
it's funny. I don't really like that song, but it just sticks in your head. I can literally hear it in my head now. Oh well.
If I just spread my wings,
oh God, please no.
I can fly. Of course, he's been heavily cancelled.
For quite rightly, by the sounds of things.
Is Russia the first country to be cancelled? because all the companies going, no, we're not dealing with them anymore. Like it's almost like they've been cancelled in the cancelled way.
Well, it kind of cancelled Germany in the mid-40s.
Well, but it didn't.
Split it to 4 different ones and then brought it back again. but then sort of invested.
But I
in
mean,
it.
since cancel
Russia.
culture's happened.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so it probably wouldn't be like a modern term, possibly.
That's good.
I did read. Apparently, as a brave stance from Sainsbury's, they've renamed Chicken Kiev to the Ukrainian
Freedom
spelling,
Kiev.
I did wonder if they were going to call it something like Chicken Freedom or Chicken Solidarity, but no, just calling it Chicken Kiev. But
Freedom fries.
YVIV rather than KYIV rather than
Yeah,
like
because
the
everyone's
Ukrainian
pronouncing
spelling.
it properly now, aren't they? It's Kiev.
Yeah, I don't think we've got any moral high ground to stand on about pronunciation. To be honest with you, Chris.
What, you and me?
Yeah.
We're really good at it. Okay. That's the one thing that people come here for.
Yeah. Like I won't bother Googling and getting somebody to pronounce that for me. I just listen to how Neil and Chris say it. And just,
it's the best way.
It's
Assume that we've done the work for you incorrectly.
Yeah. We thoroughly researched the subject. So, the Yowie is described as a hairy and ape-like creature. We said that, didn't we? It's quite tall. It's a tall ape-like creature. Feet are much larger than the humans. So, it sounds like a big hobbit now. But the alleged Yowie tracks are inconsistent in shape and toe number. And descriptions of Yowie footprints. Do you reckon?
Small breeding population, inbreeding.
Yeah.
Must be
a shame, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a shame for them, isn't
it? So the descriptions of Yowie footprints provided by the Yowie witnesses are even more varied than those of Bigfoot. I must confess, I did not know that the descriptions of Bigfoot's feet were, just the feet are big, I would have thought would be the main description there. But anyway, and his nose is described as wide and flat. Interestingly, some report the Yowie as timid or shy, whereas others describe him as violent or aggressive. So I suppose it depends which one you run into, doesn't it?
Depends if you've been drinking.
Well, there's that as well. Yeah. Well, you reckon he's bad drunk?
Yeah. I reckon he's lovely when he's drunk. It's when he's not drunk.
Actually, he's just his time on. He's fine because he's in love with everyone. But yeah, when he's got a hangover.
Yeah, I mean maybe he's into party drugs. Could be.
Gasping for a pint.
Yeah, exactly.
All we've got is Foster's. Fuck this.
I want some VB.
Quite right too.
Headache-inducing VB.
I've never had VB.
A lot of it when I was in Australia. It's very good for headaches.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's dark, isn't it? The dark beers are bad for headaches, and also Australia. Don't know if you've heard this, but it's quite hot. So
I've heard rumours to
the contrary.
Yes, not to the contrary. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, apparently it's quite sunny, isn't it? That's what I've heard.
Yeah, I think I think it was in degrees Celsius. I don't know in Fahrenheit, but in degrees Celsius it was 56 at one point in the outback when I was there.
Fuck that.
But the thing is, once you get over about 35, it's just hot. You can't really tell the difference.
Getting into the 30s, I'm not coping well at all. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of that level of heat. Yeah, I think that's another thing why I haven't sort of jumped to go out there.
Well, we're in an air-conditioned car. This was kind of like in the middle of nowhere-ish. Well, just outside a town called Gympie, if anyone knows Australia, which is probably northern Queensland or something.
Like Perth, Sydney and Melbourne. But no people who live there. But no, I'm not familiar with the Northern Territories of the Outback or anything at all. So different. You can't really pin the crazy little fella down. So we don't really know where the term Yowie. The Yowie seems to be the term that struck. So as I said before, there's kind of like all sorts of different names that it's called, and
the different Aboriginal groups or different Aboriginal nations, because they're not all just one thing.
No, obviously not just one homogenous group. Yeah, there's and the different territories. You've got lots of different things, but there seems to be a sort of consistency of this kind of thing. But Yowie is the one that's kind of become synonymous with the kind of Australian thing.
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. But yeah, and so it was documented in a Reverend William Ridley's book about a particular people, the Camilleri is potentially how I'm pronouncing that, or how I'm pronouncing that is potentially how you pronounce that. They called him Yowie is a spirit that roams over the earth at night. Although some people have tied it into an Aboriginal legend of apparently the Yahoo is something that's an Aboriginal legend. Because I just remember that being, well, obviously, it's not a terribly well-used word anymore, Yahoo.
A Yahoo is like a loud,
stupid person, basically. Which I always thought came from
he's a
Gulliver's
bloody
Travels.
Yahoo.
Yeah, because Gulliver's Travels, there was the Yahoos, weren't they, and the hominins or whatever they were called, hominins or the horse people, whatever. And some people think that it's a creature, a part of the dream time. So old Bungaree, a Gunnedah Aboriginal, said at one time there were tribes of Yahoos, and the original inhabitants of the country they were. They said the old race of Aborigines, they used to fight with us, and we beat them most of the time, but they could run away, being faster runners.
Cowards. Oh, but they're really big. How did they?
Yeah, so
it's a weird one, isn't it? Because my mind instantly
12 foot. You think?
Well, my mind instantly slips into when there were different hominids kicking around.
Yeah.
Right. So there was, sort of proto-humans, but then there was Neanderthals, and there was Diluvian.
Various different species of.
So I'm wondering if it's some, because the one thing which they are very one that they may be the best at, they're the oral tradition of the Aboriginal people is like one of the most, like they properly have always taken it seriously, and these stories are told and it properly gets handed down. Yeah. More so than almost anywhere else, or maybe anywhere else. So you wonder if that is kind of an echo of the past when there was more than one type of hominid kicking around. Yeah,
but it wouldn't. I think to go back so
remembering
far,
that it's telephone games
or something like that. No, absolutely. And but I think but they're quite I don't know in terms of how many sort of tens of thousands of years, but it's quite I think it was only where you had Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalis were knocking around at the same time. I think everyone else were just precursors, so you wouldn't have had like multiple groups. But
again, we don't know yet, and it depends. Australia is. Again, the Aboriginal people leave a very light footstep. They don't build, they have a fairly nomadic lifestyle. So, we don't know. There could be bones out there in the outback somewhere which haven't been discovered of another proto-human who was kicking around Australia 10,000 years ago. We don't know.
It'd be longer than that, I would have thought. But who knows? And there are some people who say that there might be some sort of relics or some other kind of ape ancestor.
Could be. I'm just saying, hey, man, I'm here to speculate, not accumulate.
No, that's fair enough. So okay, but could they still be Could they still be around? So there have been quite a lot of sightings. Do you know what? It seems like there's quite a lot of Yowie investigators, so they're clearly popular in Australia.
Self-appointed, would this be?
I would imagine so. I don't think
I'm a Yowie investigator.
I don't think you're going to, Sydney Uni or whatever, or whatever.
Gold Coast University.
Yeah, to sort of study how to be a Yowie investigator. So according to top-end Yowie investigator Andrew McGinn.
Top-end? What does that mean?
Top-end Yowie investigator. The best, the creme de la creme.
Just
not one of your common Yowie investigators.
One of your common mugs, corner shop,
knocking around with a Polaroid camera and without a fucking clue.
Yeah, and
this guy's serious. He does this for a living.
A tin's pie to lure it out.
Well, he knows. He knows what he's doing.
So has he said to himself, "Oh no, I'm a top-end Yowie investigator"?
I'm just saying what Google's, Wiki's telling me, to be honest with you. Right, but he reckons the death and mutilation of a pet dog near Darwin could have been the result of an attack by the Yowie.
It seems likely because there isn't many dangerous animals in Australia.
Yeah, the dog owners believe dingoes are probably more likely, but hey.
Well.
And then a man in Canberra said he saw an animal described as a juvenile covered in hair with long arms that almost touched the ground.
Mm.
I think I've seen people like that in Winchester before.
You in Winchester. When are you gonna leave them be?
In his garage. A friend later told him it could be a Yowie.
Well, so these Yowies sightings are near quite populated areas, which I think is unlikely. I think.
Yeah. You would think there. I mean,
they're not like unless they're becoming like foxes, and they just go, well, easy food to scavenge around the humans.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because, we're just so wasteful as a species, human beings. It's just, the Yowie sort of coming out and it's like, oh, fuck it. Just going to leave around half-empty bottles of VB. I'm going to come out
and cigarettes put out that barely been smoked. I'll have that.
Good Lord, you got a good load of baccy still left in that.
See, I told you guys we should have invented agriculture.
Little we could have done.
We're too busy fighting the Aboriginal people and then get beaten up and running away.
Yeah.
Because they're really quick. Just like the worst kind of pricks.
Yeah. Go in. Son? Oh, I'll run away now.
Oi, you're a wanker. What? You're a wanker. Fuck you. Oh, whatever, mate. Fuck you. Oh, you think you are? Come here then. Oh, Leighton. Come here then. All right. Run off.
Yeah.
Can't catch me. Prick.
Did you see that? All right, Graham.
I seem to remember there being people like that in school. Sort of playground people insult you and then run away. Maybe they're like that. Maybe it was the juveniles.
It could be. Quite a lot of sightings in New South Wales. So in 1977, there was an article in the Sydney Morning Herald that reported that some residents on Oxley Island heard screaming noises made by an animal at night.
Huh?
You weren't there in 77, that was before you were born. Thought it might have been your visit to Australia, yeah.
No. I
I think you could be mistaken for a Yowie.
Me? Yeah, easy.
So
Absolutely.
There's another chap who's into all this. Cryptozoologist Rex
I'm thinking
Gilroy.
of going to Australia and claiming to be a Yowie and doing the talk show.
You could do, yeah. You could sort of like you on behalf of the Yowies, just like to come and become an ambassador.
Hi, John Yowie, Yowie ambassador.
Yeah, that could work.
I'll take it back to my people.
Australians got a sense of humour. I'm sure they'd be up for that. It's like they talk about the drop bears and all of that stuff.
What?
Have you not heard of it? There's actually, this is another one I looked into. I was looking for Australian urban myths. So the drop bears, it's like a version of the koala bear that drops down and attacks people. But it's fictional, basically. But there's actually, in the Australian Museum, they've actually come up with like a fake bio.
So it drops out of the tree and it's like it drops out of the tree onto people. And
it drops out of the tree and attacks people, yeah. Drop bear, Google it. It's kind of...
they look like koala, but with like fangs.
They're clear, absolutely like that. They've just got pointy teeth.
Oh, that sounds
and
good.
it's just them taking the piss, basically. See if they can, convince any dumb tourists that these things really exist. But yeah, and this is the thing, you don't know with half of these sightings whether or not they're just taking the piss. Top Yowie investigator Andrew McGinn, that might just be something he does for,
Yeah, I mean, you wonder kind of whether,
too committed,
how you'd finance it.
Well, maybe he's a rich fella. Maybe he's got a ruby mine.
He's an eccentric, rich Australian guy. Yeah. He's one of Murdoch's illegitimate sons.
Well, that's the thing is that people literally don't know. Murdoch's actually quite a decent guy, but he's just been, just taken on this persona for years, just to satirise the rich and their influence on politics. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's backfired slightly.
Yeah, it took it.
He has taken over most of the world for the worse. Influenced, most of the UK and the US political establishment and made it far.
UK especially.
Well, I think Fox's grip on the US is insane now as well. But he's
pretty much pick who the prime ministers or who the winning party was going to be, because not so much now, but basically people who of a certain persuasion would vote whoever their newspaper told them to vote for. And the most popular paper was The Sun. And they go, we're voting for Labour this time. We support Labour this time. And people go, all right, I'll go and vote for them then. It's just...
Well, yeah, but to be honest with you, I think intrinsically they'll always support the Tory party where they can, but it just became blatantly obvious, and they didn't want to be the ones saying, "Oh well," you know. I think it's like grudging acceptance. I know, I totally do. Tony Blair was clearly going to win.
Well, I know that they played the game, didn't they, and they kind of courted the Murdoch press more than because Labour previously had just gone, no, fuck off.
Yeah. No, and they did. You know, I'm sure there were some, you know, backroom deals and all the rest of it, and also the spin doctors and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it was more or less inevitable at that point in time.
We'll never know, will we? Sadly.
No, you never know for sure. There you go. And again, then in 1994, Tim the Yowie Man claimed to have seen a Yowie in the Brindabella Ranges.
Was he called Tim the Yowie Man beforehand, or since he saw the Yowie?
This is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because
is that his Christian name?
So he's a writer, author, and crypto-naturalist, apparently, born in Canberra. He was born Timothy Bull.
Right.
Bull, so that's good, isn't it?
That's very good. Not sure why.
No, Bull being a synonym for talking rubbish.
Oh, okay.
That was where my head was going. It wasn't a particularly good point. Yeah, it doesn't actually explain when he becomes Tim the Yowie Man. But he claims to be a Yowie.
Tim the Yowie Man sounds like a terrible sort of art house musician who would have been like on the bill with us at some of our early gigs.
Yeah, pretty much.
At some of our later gigs.
Yowie generation, yeah. Any gig we do in future. Let's face it, we never really broke through that barrier, did we?
No.
Local pub, basically. I mean, I still remember that audience of bored people in an Irish pub in North London.
Oh, they got into it.
They got into it a bit. Well, I just remember one guy was just looking at his phone the whole time, and then he looked up for one bit, sort of like, and straight back down to his phone.
To be fair, we did get in bed with a very poor promotions company for a couple of gigs.
Well, they were trying their best, I suppose. But
they weren't trying their best at all. They didn't advertise the gigs.
Well, they got us some gigs at least. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, there you go. To be honest with you, that's been my experience of every promoter I've ever worked with. To be honest with you, they expect you to do all the promotion, take most of the money. But there you go.
Well, you signed that contract with Khaled, didn't it? DJ Khaled. Let's not get into that again. I can't afford the lawyer fees anymore.
Not
allowed to talk about it.
Get into trouble. Signed an NDA. Anyway, Tim the Yowie Man. So yeah, he saw it. He was out bushwalking in '94, and then I think he saw a Yowie, and then he became sort of obsessed, and he's been investigating the sightings.
Okay.
He writes columns in the newspapers, including the Canberra Times and the Sydney Morning Herald, and he changed his name by default to Tim the Yowie Man.
So he writes. I won't say I have to change his name to God. He sounds insufferable.
Yeah, pretty much. I bet he's fun at a party. But here's the fun fact: he got sued by Cadbury, the British chocolate company, because they make little chocolate Yowies.
Right.
Because the Yowie's a beloved little figure of Australian culture.
Right.
And they felt that his moniker was too similar to their range of Yowie confectionery. And he won the case.
Well, of course he did.
Officer satisfied a substantial portion of the Australian public would know of the dictionary meaning of Yowie and be able to distinguish between a man and a fucking chocolate bar.
What
For
a
shame,
stupid
Cadbury. For shame, Cadbury.
What a stupid lawsuit. You can't name your chocolate bar after something that exists already in common whatever knowledge. It's like going, all right, I've made a packet of crisps called Loch Ness Monster crisps, and then suing anyone who says Loch Ness Monster afterwards. It's like, what? You can't do that. That's such stupid libel or law case or whatever. It was not libel.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
There we go for trouble. I mean, I did. They did come down hard on me when I tried to change my name by default to Neil the Cream Egg Man. Well,
but we've been calling
maybe I
you
shouldn't
that
have
for
folded
years.
so quickly. Yeah, well, exactly. That's just how people. That's how people knew me.
Yeah, cream egg Herbert.
Then I'm embroiled in a trademark lawsuit. Didn't need that. Yeah. Disappointed in your Cadbury. Yeah, it's this Tim the Yowie Man. He's good. I mean, it's just
what's he writing in these?
Well, that's the thing.
Yowie Watch.
Frustratingly, doesn't? Yeah, it's like another. Let's have a look. Hunter Valley News. I reckon it's just going to be a lot of. Oh yeah.
Donna from Bluegrass says she saw a Yowie went out in the Blue Mountains the other day.
So I just clicked on one. He's called it "Break by the Lake," and he's taken a photo of sunset on Lake Ginadera. Then there's a spot of lunchtime fishing in the Lake Ginadera. Another photo of the lake. So for many years, he'd viewed it as a poor cousin to Lake Burley Griffin. I mean, you can imagine, it's no Lake Burley Griffin, is it? Yeah.
Bernie Griffin. Famously a man called Bernie Griffin.
He should have changed his name by default to Burley Griffin.
Bernie Griffin. That's a strong
Burley
name.
Griffin the Yowie Man.
Burley Griffin, you say.
Or Tim the Yowie. Yeah. Lake Burley Griffin. However, since
that's where we saw a Burley Griffin once.
So he's quite harsh on bodies of water in his articles, Chris. He says, however, after recently moving into the,
I can't say I'm surprised.
Tim the Yowie Man, he's not going to hide his
Yowies. Big thumbs up. Bodies of water. No, I'll keep my powder dry, thanks. We'll see. I'll see. I'll judge each case on its merits.
Yeah, call it a lake. It's no Burley Griffin. But he said, after recently moving to the Belconnen area, I decided I should at least explore Lake Ginadera this summer before dismissing it as little more than a glorified drain.
Ugh. Fucking hell. What's the problem with water?
I mean, it's 7 kilometres round, apparently. So it's
basically it's basically a bath, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a washing up bowl.
I could drink that.
A Yowie could drink that.
I've swum in the water. It's not that bad.
I swum in the water. 5 out of 10.
He tried some skimming stones there. So give it a top 10 of what you do.
He sounds like Mark
Top 10 of what you do by a lake. Skimming stones, beat around the bush. I don't know what that means.
Wank.
Yeah. Get into a bush and just crank one out.
Crank one out in a bush near a lake. Hoping a Yowie turns up.
Apparently they decided in 1967 to create a lake, which presumably means that this is a man-made thing. You can go and have a coffee there.
If you like coffee. I don't.
They're quite snobby about coffee in Australia and New Zealand, I found. You can listen to frog calls.
If you want. I don't like frogs myself.
You can listen to birds tweeting.
It's got 15 varieties of fish. I know 17 different fish.
There's a little island on it. So you can pretend you're Robinson Crusoe.
A book that I don't rate. He only likes Yowies.
And then there's a stunning sea set. So yeah, he's talked about. So there you go. So Tim the Yowie Man, he's basically done a whole article about the top 10 things he sort of would like to do by a lake.
So it's nothing to do with Yowies.
Well, not on that one. Let's have a look at another one.
He's kind of like me. Do you reckon he just had he's really like a canny businessman, and he got a really good contract, and so they have to just keep letting him do his thing, and he's just. I'm not even talking about Yowies now. He's talking about how much he hates water. 10 things that are wrong about trees.
Yeah,
soil, the most disappointing substance on earth. Mountains, just upside down valleys, that kind of thing.
Here you go. So you go to the Canberra Times, and it's Tim the Yowie Man is a Canberra Times columnist, intrepid adventurer, mystery investigator, and crypto naturalist. They got a photo of him with just like a very silly looking hat.
Right.
Or very. Yeah,
is it one of those ones which has the two hands that clap on top of it?
Well, it's kind of like it looks like a wizard's hat. I don't know. It's
Dunce's hat.
He's an eccentric character. I mean, I don't know. I'll probably be told that that's perfectly,
That's
good thing. Keep the sun out your eye.
actually incredibly important to the Australian people, and the fact you've said that means that you've committed treason. If you go there, you could be shot.
Oh well, there you go. It's always going to happen.
What? The conical hat of the Commonwealth.
And here he is again having a go at a lake. Lake George is looking pretty full. But just how full is it actually?
Yeah, of water.
Let's see. It's full of shit. Lake George.
Ugh, full of
I'll tell
fish.
you, Lake Burley Griffin.
The only lake that I've given more than 4 out of 10.
Turns out, how full it is, Chris, isn't easy to answer.
Oh.
Bit like asking how long is a piece of string.
I'll tell you what, man, this guy is fucking intrepid, isn't he? He's an intrepid adventurer, having a go at lakes. Like easily reached lakes by car or bus.
He's written an article about how Prince Philip went to a lake once, to Lake George, in fact. Unfortunately, I can't read any more without subscribing, which I don't think I'll be doing. Thanks, Camera Times, but But yeah, there you go, Tim the Yowie Man.
Tim the Yowie Man, who never speaks about yowies and has a big problem with lakes.
Just basically slags off lakes.
Which is weird because you think because it's a very dry place, Australia, lakes would be revered.
I wouldn't be having a go at any water, to be honest with you.
No. That could mean the difference between, life or becoming the plaything of a yowie.
Oh, he's not written one fucking article about yowies, apparently. And he called it,
I mean, I'm now side to side with Cadburys.
Yeah, I think I should just say the fuck out of him.
because it's like, one more court case, I could call Tim the Yowie Man, and then just never talk about yowies.
Yeah. Do you reckon they can threaten him afterwards?
The one thing he can never talk about is yowies.
If you know what's good for you, keep your fucking mouth shut. Judge might have backed you. You fuck with Cadburys. In case you haven't heard, we've been taken over by Kraft. And Kraft ain't to be fucked with. Yeah.
We're members of the Bilderberg group.
I was thinking it was either that or it'd be like a bunch of lads out of Peaky Blinders because it was started in Birmingham, didn't it, Cadbury?
Yeah, but Kraft now.
Yeah,
Kraft have got their own military arm.
Well, what they? Yeah.
That's how they get their cocoa so cheap.
Oh, it's a shame, isn't it? At least they haven't made the chocolate taste like vomit.
They haven't changed the chocolate, which was the good thing to do because the chocolate's nice and Kraft chocolate isn't.
Yeah, and so there's been quite a few different settings in the sightings in the world. Also, I'm going to pick out one from Queensborough. So, a former Queensborough senator, Bill O'Chee, reported to the Gold Coast Bulletin he saw a yowie while on a school trip in Springbrook. And
was he one of the children at school, or was he as a senator? He just decided to go on a school trip.
Oh, hang on a minute! I think that might have been written about by Tim the Yowie Man. Oh no!
Oh no! Is it? Was it to a lake?
Clearly not. I'll just look at the reference. Do
you think it's fair to say that Tim the Yowie Man's a fraud? Or at least, is it fair to say that Tim the Yowie Man, his name is basically false advertising?
Yeah, well, I just think he should write a lot more about the yowies, in my opinion. But there you go.
I mean, it depends how long.
Maybe everyone got bored of that. Maybe that was more of a.
It depends how long he's been writing how long he's been writing the articles, because I mean, there's only so much you can write about a made-up thing, isn't there? So.
I mean, he saw one in '94. He got sued by Cadburys in 2004. So then he's probably like, "Oh fuck it, I'm just gonna slag off lakes." But no. So this senator, where is he? From Queensland. He did. He compared it with the character Chewbacca from Star Wars. The creature he saw had been over 3 meters tall. So yeah, big old fella. So it's been sighted in plenty of places, and there was actually one, I think, last year. There's some video that they've actually taken. Let's have a look. Although for some bizarre reason he's decided to do it on a thermal camera. So a Yowie hunter who snapped a series of thermal images in bushland claimed the pictures prove the mythical creature exists.
Is the reason they do it on a thermal camera so you can't see it's just a person?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, because apparently they were like 9 foot tall or whatever, but all you can see is like predator vision.
Yeah, so you can't tell a scale.
A human shape.
God, that's shit, isn't it?
But it was in a dense scrub area in the bushland. Well, that's why because they were going through the bush trying to find them. So 2 Yowies appeared from behind a tree.
With trilbies.
The first Yowie pretended to be a tree in order to hide from researchers. It's doing what Yowies do. They all hug a tree, he said.
Ugh.
So they're a bit like Swampy, aren't they?
You keep mentioning Swampy.
You're
never going to meet him.
He's an inspirational figure. I like people who are passionate about causes that aren't for their own self-interest. And then he reckons the Yowies identified where he was standing. They placed 4 markers directly on the tracks, which were standing the previous night. For anyone who doesn't believe the imagery could be real, he said, I couldn't care less if people refuse to acknowledge their existence.
Fuck you.
I'm not here to convince them. I'm here to provide the facts. He's got a man bun as well, which is nice. Oh, no, his assistant has got a man bun. Sorry, Dean Harrison is a slightly older gentleman.
Bullied his son into... How do you use this internet thing?
Yeah, no, his assistant is called Buck Buckingham.
Buck Buckingham from the Buck.
He's got
Buck
very
Buckingham
heavily tattooed arms as well.
Huh?
He's got very heavily tattooed arms and a man bun and a shaved head. He looks like a sort of...
Brighton. He looks like a Brightoner.
Yeah, he could definitely maybe Brighton. He could just open up a restaurant.
He could merge. He wouldn't like being in Brighton though, because he wouldn't be individual.
No, that's true, and you're not going to be able to hunt too many Yowies. Oh, they got some grief in the comments though, Chris.
Really?
So, yeah,
I can't believe that.
Oh no, this is from the Daily Mail actually. So of course,
no, right.
Imagine being in a Yowie hunters group where everyone knows that each other is lying. Must be awkward.
No, not really.
Maybe just ScoMo running around in her suit, searching for a like kind to help run the country. Oh, that's slang. Is it Scott Morrison or Scott Morris is the Australian? God, my ignorance of Australian political.
Send them back to Asia.
Oh, he's the current politician, Scott Morrison. Okay.
Right.
Anyway, apparently
I mean, that's hilarious though, isn't it?
Like a Yowie. It's a good dig, isn't it?
They say satire's dead.
Hunter and Gatherer says these attention seekers will never give up their nonsense claims due to their inferiority complexes. I personally know of an Aussie bloke who conned Channel 9 into believing he'd found a big cat in central Victoria. It's amazing what can be achieved with a cardboard cutout and a fuzzy picture, together with wide-eyed innocence and conviction.
I mean, I would say that maybe have a look in the mirror if you're writing comments underneath a Daily Mail article about your own insecurities.
Yeah, that is
if you're trying to be the cleverest man in the room, and a Daily Mail article about someone who's videoed a Yowie, then I think maybe you need to have a little look in the mirror, mate, to be honest.
It's not untrue. This is Daily Mail Australia, so I don't know if that makes any difference.
It's the same.
Yeah,
it's the same
website. It's a bit like The Guardian does an Australian and the US edition. Yeah. Yeah, but it's clearly the
slightly right wing,
the shitey rag that pollutes our tabloids. And then there was another one where some people saw a Seamus Fitzgerald and a couple of mates spotted what they believed was a Yowie on their way home in a remote Australian town in North Queensland. When was this? Yes, this was December 21, actually. We were in utter disbelief of what we were seeing. It was definitely a scary moment, and I was so confused and shook up at what we were seeing. As we got closer and closer, it didn't make sense like you'd hope. I mean, it's just like a bit of a hairy bloke just having a snooze or something.
Could it be Russell Crowe? That's what I'm asking. Because he's got hairy, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's quite a chic gentleman.
Could it be Russell? Could he have been coming?
He can sometimes be tame, but he can also be violent and aggressive. You know that.
He's
flinging phones at people's heads and whatnot.
Yeah, he's quite violent, isn't he? I mean, maybe it's Russell. Maybe Russell Crowe's a Yowie. Maybe. Has anyone checked? Well, Russell, we'd love you to star in this film, but we are going to have to do a DNA test because
We do need to cut you up for science first.
rumour has it you're a Yowie, and that has insurance implications because of their violent nature. No way, mate, I'm fine. 1 second later, he's punching someone in the production room.
Oh, and there's somebody who's having a go at the skeptics in the comments for this article.
Good.
So all these skeptics are fools. Assuming you know all there is to know, assuming a mystery to you must be an invention. Fools. You'll always lag behind those with open minds and eyes. What's wrong with just hearing what is said and accepting it? Who says you must have an opinion? If you don't know more than this story says, you're in no position to make judgment unless you happen to know Yowies in that area. Your problem is fear. You're afraid to confront the reality that neither you nor mankind has all the answers.
It sounds a little bit like this person skipped the Enlightenment, but if someone says it, then just believe it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, why not?
Look, I'm open-minded. There could quite easily be large. You know, we think because we've got Google Maps and stuff, we think we've kind of seen the world. But I mean, there's plenty of places where stuff can be.
Yeah, there could be things around that
there's definitely kind of species and stuff that we haven't discovered yet. I mean, the larger the species gets, the less likely. But then also, on the other hand, the larger the species get, as in physically large, an individual member of the species, then they tend to have smaller groups, because the larger the creature, the larger area it needs to be able to provide for itself. So you tend to get...
Well, that's why Australia kind of works there, doesn't it? Because you can imagine, like, in the outback, there would be places to... Well, it's not like densely forested or whatever.
No, there's plenty of densely forested places in Australia, like in the Northern Territories especially. Like, it's tropical rainforest. No, fair enough. Yeah, but, there are plenty of unexplored parts where... who knows? But anyway, So I agree with that, but I don't agree with believing everything you hear, which is what that person's basically saying.
Yeah, they've taken it too far there. If you accepted what everyone was saying, then what are you going to just accept everything? Then what, you don't believe in anything? And the New York Times also, they've got an article around, it's just about Seamus Fitzgerald again, talking around that stuff. So just to note that article was published in the New York Post, although
not the New York Times.
And it was in the Sun as well. So no, it's the New York Post, which I think is one of the more, I don't know, really, but I think it's one of the more crappy. Yeah, it's one of the more crappy kind of like, I think the New York Times is quite prestigious, isn't it? Then they copied the article out of the Sun. But it was in the Sun in the UK. This is one of our crappy tabloids. Talking of what's his face?
Murdoch.
Mr. Murdoch. Yeah. I know him. Actually, does he own it?
I don't know. I think he might have sold it.
Yeah. But yeah. So I'm not going to go through all of the other sightings, but there's been an awful lot of sightings, and there's a lot of people who are very passionate about hunting for Yowies and. Including Tim the Yowie Man, who likes to
not hunt Yowies and talk about lakes. So
he doesn't want to be defined by that one. That's his favourite thing, but he doesn't want to be defined by that. I also enjoy slagging off lakes.
I'm
contain multitudes.
Rounded character.
Yeah.
So I think
I do quite want to get one of these Cadbury chocolate Yowies, though. They look quite nice.
Well, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to buy them, are you?
Well, apparently they sold them in the UK in the 90s, but then they stopped selling them. I never come across one. But they're like Kinder eggs, but less boring because it's got like a toy inside. But then there's like a little Yowie chocolate figure you eat up, and then you have a toy inside. I never saw that when I was a kid, so that saddened me. So Tim the Yowie Man wants to send me a Cadbury's Yowie, or Cadbury's want to send me a Cadbury's Yowie. That'd be nice.
I can. You can send him some pictures of lakes to have a go at.
I'll tell you, if he's not impressed by by some of the lakes over there, he should come over and see some of the ones in the UK.
Some of them are over 10 foot long.
Fucking high horse. Look, I wouldn't even call this a country. It's fucking, it's a front garden at best. This is just like a garden for France or something,
No, it's not. It's not that much more than France.
And then just one of the things. There's a picture on the Wikipedia article. I mean, there doesn't. I mean, the one thing is there doesn't seem to be any kind of like stories about Yowies attacking people.
So where does the violent reputation come from?
What is the thing? Because there's the picture on Wikipedia is just it looks like something out of So, oh God, what's that? Sorry, I'm going to have to look this up. I think I've
heard that someone saw a Yowie coming out of a UFO. I think.
Do you reckon?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that I have seen a program where that someone said that.
Because I was looking up as well, and there's we might talk about it another week, but there was there's a place in the outback as well, which is like the UFO Centre of Australia,
right?
Wycliffe Way or something like that. It turned into a big theme park. So that's nice. But no, I don't know where they get their violent reputation, because they've got a picture and it looks like something like that Goya painting where there's some like Titan devouring his son. This is just this angry looking sort of fella with, it looks slightly goatee. He's got like a beard and a bit of a tail.
Like the Devian.
But there's just two, a little bit, but they've got very angry eyes and just like gleaming out, and just two pairs of legs. Just anyone who's ever seen the Duke of York's cinema in Brighton, they look like that. It's just sort of like that doing a can or something. But he's clearly chomping down on this person. But there doesn't seem to be any kind of like, from any of the sightings or from any of the rest of it, it doesn't seem like they're particularly violent. So I don't know where they're getting that reputation from. I mean, I will say, Chris, in all of this, where's the perspective of the Yowie himself or themselves?
Well, we
speaks for the Yowie?
We offer a right to reply for the Yowie on this podcast, should they wish to
avail themselves of that. It would be very great.
Get involved.
Very happy to do so. Yeah.
My uncle lives in Australia. I can send him out to the outback.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be quite happy to do that. It'd be good use of his time. I mean, because what's their side of the story? That's what I'd like to know. Conspicuous by its absence, I would say.
So, what you're saying is the Yowies kind of by choosing not to come forward and speak to the people of the media, the Yowie has asked for the reputation it's getting and the hassle it's getting. Because that's always the argument that press people make, isn't it? Of celebrities. Yeah. They go, well, you refuse to speak to us, so we're going to hide in the bins outside your house and take pictures up your skirt or whatever. Whereas if you had a relationship with us, picture here of a
absolutely, which seems entirely
proportionate and reasonable. Yeah. People aren't
absolutely. Yeah, well, if you can't trust a journalist,
you sung a song. What makes you think you're allowed a private life?
Yeah. Well, you're in the public eye now. It's in the public interest.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, let's and he's not our prime minister, an ex-journalist. So what could be a more trustworthy character?
Yeah.
I mean, all right, he did get fired for lying a few times, but
and he did, and there is a phone recording of him hiring someone to beat up another journalist.
Yeah, man of the highest integrity. Anyway, so I think we'll bring that to a close. Really,
okay.
It's just a lot of sightings, basically. But it's an interesting.
It's kind of the Bigfoot of Australia, really.
Yeah, that's how he's kind of been talked. But I think it may or may not have it may or may not have some sort of, because there are similar creatures in. It's quite interesting how there's these kind of like ape-like
everywhere
things that are just spotted all over the world. It's quite interesting because obviously Bigfoot is the big star of the show. He gets good press. He does work with the press. Bigfoot.
He does.
He's canny. He's like Princess Di of the the beasties.
Absolutely.
Not like one of your pigmen or one of your Yowies. He knows how to work the press.
Remember when the people were turning against Bigfoot a bit, and he did that photo shoot where he was helping to disarm landmines.
Yeah,
that was a good PR from the Bigfoot.
But I wouldn't be cynical. I think he does have a passion for these things. So
yeah,
but just not. Knows he's not beyond.
He knows how to play the game, man.
He's not beyond, just using it for his own benefit as well.
He used to
Canny player.
He used to hire Max Clifford, didn't he? The famous publicist before he was cancelled.
Scumbag. Yeah, he got U-treed, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, big star.
100 times. Okay, well that's the Yowie. Australian Bigfoot may or may not be violent.
May or may not be anything. Between about 7 foot and 12 foot tall.
Yeah.
Hairy. We all agree on that.
Got fangs, probably.
Long arms.
Or not. Long arms.
Nothing about fangs, no.
All the pictures have it with fangs that I'm looking up. Images of the Yowie.
That's sensationalist, isn't it?
That's just othering them.
Apart from that one person who seemed to think that the dingo attack was a Yowie attack.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Chris. He is a top-end Yowiologist. So, who am I to dispute those credentials?
Well, exactly. You've got no credentials when it comes to Yowiology.
Or many other things.
Neil, let's go through our scoring system, which is currently being used by Vladimir Putin to score how well his invasion's going. So, Neil's spookiness. The invasion very spooky.
Yeah.
They fight back, spooky.
Urban myths, so anything that we say is true. It's not really a spooky one. This is one of the sort of cryptozoology ones. So, I've got to give this a low one because it's not a spooky tale, and it doesn't, other than sort of mentions of attacks on dogs and violent tendencies. People are far worse, frankly. So I'm going to cut to the chase here and just give this a 1.
1.
It's not spooky, is it?
Well, so yes, it doesn't seem to attack humans, or whatever. But if I was out on the road at night and I saw a 10, 12 foot tall ape thing, I think that'd be quite spooky, to be honest. Even if it's fairly ambivalent about me, you sort of never know.
Getting fisticuffs though, and he'll just run away.
Well, yeah, maybe. But the fact that he could outrun me like really easily would
that's true.
Would be spooky because it would bring to kind of blinding focus how the aging process and how much speed I've lost over the years. So
I'll be honest with you. If my terror threshold was being outrun by things, I would be in a perpetual state of terror.
So I'm going to give it a 3 now. Believability. Okay, so it's another one of the ape men. It's the Aboriginals or Aborigines seem to believe in it quite a lot, and so, like I said, it could be one of those things where it's a memory that's passed down through a society about something from many years ago that we haven't yet discovered the remains.
Some sort of ape creature that lived in the
outback. Ape creature or like a human-esque creature. It could well be. So, and Australia is huge, and it's not like they've done archaeological digs hardly anywhere there. Do you know what I mean? So, there could be all kinds of shit. Could it still exist? Again, Australia is a pretty good place for it to remain hidden because it is truly vast and sparsely populated. So I think, it's not supernatural or anything, is it? So I think it's got a reasonable believability. So I'm going to give it a 7, Neil.
Yeah, kind of a similar kind of thing, really. It's not outlandish, the tale, massively. Inherently, one's always a little bit sceptical of any kind of Bigfoot entities, but hey, who knows? There's plenty of people who seem to sort of go around looking for these things, but then, I think cryptozoology, I half think it's just like a bit of fun for some people, and it's just, go out and do these things like you hear from the 14 times. So quite how much they believe themselves, who knows? But it's a reasonable number of sightings. It's not the most ridiculous. You take something like the Loch Ness monster, where you'd have to have something that's just living in a lake that would, for thousands of years or whatever. It doesn't, I personally would be very sceptical that there is anything there, but yeah, it's not beyond the absolute bounds of possibility. And with all of those sightings and the kind of how far it goes back, I think I'll concur with you and give it a 7.
Lovely. So Reach, Neil.
Yeah. So I think this is probably more of an Australian thing. I mean, I think because it ties into the whole Bigfoot thing, that probably gives it a bit more reach. It doesn't have the. Well, I say it doesn't have the same sort of branding. I mean, they got a chocolate bar that Cadburys are so into. They'll sue you if you change your name to it. Even though it pre-exists them by at least hundreds of years. So, but yeah, still weirded about that. But and people are actually changing the name by default to Yowie and stuff.
You say people.
Well, one
lacating.
One interesting journalist. Yeah, I mean, but people are sort of become Yowie extras and things like that. It doesn't feel like it's like massive outside Australia, but it does feel like it's probably a bit of a kind of like symbol for Australians, so that's good. So it probably can't get massively high because I don't think it's gone around as a legend like massively everywhere else, and it's quite how far it's truly related to sort of Aboriginal stories and stuff, who knows? But it has roots in, a very, very ancient culture. So I'm going to kind of give it a 6, actually. I'm going to, I think it's, it's not, it's not worldwide or anything, but given, some antiquity and the fact that it's,
Well, I'm broadly same as you. I think it's pretty well known in Australia. It's had chocolates made after it. It's books, and it's been in TV shows and that kind of stuff and films. Again, mainly in Australia. But I mean, it's their Bigfoot. They know, it'll be well known. Someone who calls
it's not getting on a plane and going to America, is it?
No, someone called Yowie, whatever, Yowie Hunter, has got columns in newspapers.
Tim the Yowie Man, Chris, come on. It's an easy name to remember.
Rolls off the tongue. And the fact
Tim the Lake Hating Yowie Man.
You just change your name to Tim the Lake Hater.
Fucking drain.
And then like some Estonian chocolate company called Lake Haters comes and sees him. You the Spanish name of Lake Hater bar. And it seems like it's come through an oral tradition, from time immemorial. So that's got a good reach through time. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 as well, Neil. So, narrative premise. Well, I mean, the thing is, all of these 8-man ones, there isn't really a story there because it isn't a story. It's about a creature that puzzle doesn't exist. The fact that it's been the Yowie hasn't come along because people have heard of Bigfoot, right? The Yowie is it's independent. It's not people jumping on the 8-man bandwagon because it's been around with the Aboriginal people for ages.
They have similar myths all over the world. It's like the abominable snowman, isn't it? They just coexist.
They coexist. So I think you can't say, it's not original because there's Sasquatch. You can't say that because it's grown up independently, which is why it's kind of fascinating that these ape-like humanoid creatures have grown up with cultures that more than likely didn't have any contact with each other that we know of a long time ago. So, I mean, although it's a common narrative, I think it's a strong one because it appears so many places. So, and there's not much to it apart from that. But I mean, it's a strong one, and it's a shared human one. So, and it's clearly something that means a lot to humans all over the world. This kind of thing. So, for that reason, I'm going to give it a 6. Neil.
Yeah, that seems kind of reasonable to me. I mean, I think again, it's with a lot of these ones about particular people. I mean, the one that was a bit of an exception was the Pigman had quite a lot of potential origin stories, which was quite interesting.
Because it's real.
Yeah, because it's a real person who lives in wherever that place was.
Chase.
Some forest. Yeah, that's it, Cannock Chase, thank you. Spooky old Cannock Chase. with its UFOs and ley lines and Nexus and
Black Eyed Kids.
and Black Eyed Kids. Don't forget the Black Eyed Kids, for God's sake. But definitely going to have to do a field trip to Cannock Chase at some point. Yeah, so, so it's not, they're never like massively compelling in terms of narrative story. And it's more around kind of our relations to nature, I think, I think what's interesting is I think if you were writing like a film or something like that, it'd have to be some like Charlie Kaufman kind of meta, story about people's hunt for the, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a bit of an enigma that people can project things about themselves onto. But as you say, there seems to be this shared kind of like thing around, basically what you all explained. So I'm going to give it a 5.
5, okay. So that gives us a total urban legend score of 41. Right in the bell curve.
Yes. There's a lot seem to be landing in the middle recently.
Well, that just shows it's right. Shows the system works. So that's
we should do a scattergraph at some point and see.
I'm going to. It's just
we can examine our outliers for anomalies.
Well, exactly. So that's it from this week's urban legend. If you know anything about Yowies or have seen one, or indeed you are an ape man or woman, an ape person, then feel free to contact us at herb.legends.podcast@gmail.com. But apart from that, get yourself a massage because they're good for you. And, we could all use a bit more self-care in these trying times. So from me, the luchador, El Bambino, Senor Bambino, Senor Bambino Gigante.
Gigante.
Goodbye.
See you later.